And welcome to this week's episode of Ball Hawk Blab, the first and only video baseball podcast put on by Ball Hawks for Ball Hawks, inspired by Hall & Oates. And today we kicked off with a good old-fashioned national anthem standoff. This week was won by the hairy one, Tony Voda. Congratulations, Tony.
I love you. Everyone's a winner when you get to hear the national anthem.
That's right. USA! USA! Tony, what's on our little check sheet this week?
I think we're going to be we've heard the complaints. We've listened to our fans. We're going to do something called Talking Ball Hawking. Maybe it'll catch on and spread over to some other podcasts. I can't guarantee anything, but who knows? Then we're going to talk about a little bit of some hijinks, whether that is some good old-fashioned clubhouse humor or even some heckling that gets creative in the stands. So I know that that's kind of been on everyone's mind lately, especially certain phallic-shaped things.
Oh, what do you have there?
I like to call it the blue rocket.
Oh, the blue rocket, you say?
Yeah.
You mind if I try your blue rocket?
Yeah. Do you want to try it? It might. I think it's magical. So if I give it to you, let's see what happens.
A magical blue rocket, you say, huh? Wow. It turned red.
You got a red rocket.
Must be holding it too tightly.
It's almost like we just traded something.
Wait.
Does it taste like red?
Oh, my lips. Here.
Yeah.
Okay, here you go. Ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Got it?
Got it.
Got stuck.
Woo.
Wait, where's that? I won't tell you where I had that. That was getting stuck. Oh.
White raspberry.
Oh, it was very berry tasting.
So I think we just made a good trade. And any other good trades between Minnesota and Atlanta?
We did have one that we traded a minor leaguer that we picked up free agency for what was it? One Danny Salazar?
Santana. You wish.
So we did make that pickup. Who knows how it's gonna play out or how this puzzle piece will fit in, but well, we like sharing between Minnesota and Atlanta here.
Agreed, and it's unfortunate because I had a soft spot in my heart for Danny Santana because at the end of the year, a couple of years back, I got one of his bats. So I guess I'm gonna have to root for Atlanta if I really want that bat to appreciate and value.
Or maybe the bat will just appreciate you for giving it a nice home.
It's true.
So I think without further ado, let's delve into a little ball hawk talk. Tony, you ready to talk some ball hawking?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So this last week, uh, I really want to get the details right. So I went to these games and I caught some baseballs. How about you, David?
I went to several games last week, and I caught some baseballs. This is probably the most special of them. This fella right here. I'd like to thank Mr. J. Bruce and R.A. Dickey for teaming up to present me that baseball. So I think that's ball hawk talk for this week, or talking ball hawking.
It's always nice when other men present you with their balls, and that's ball hawk talk, or talking ball hawking.
Talking ball hawking, yeah. I think we don't want to infringe on some other copyrighted materials. I know. Well, I don't think Larry would mind, but Cole might get a little feisty about it.
Yeah, and I would repeat what Larry called Cole, but it's a bit sensitive and problematic. So I think maybe we'll send that out later. Maybe look on Twitter for that. But
our nice Twitter war, huh?
Mm-hmm. So
better than a Twitter war amongst friends.
There's never been a Twitter war, especially between ball hawks. I mean, I can't think of anything that comes to mind. So
no,
we're a pretty docile group.
We are.
Plus, everyone loves us. So
especially this show.
Mm-hmm. I love you.
I love you. Elephant shoes. Elephant shoes.
It's almost like we could sing a Barney song right now. So I guess since we just covered probably about a half an hour on ball hawking, we should probably get to the other news.
Let's do.
So I guess it all starts with a dildo. Does it not?
Yeah, some big black dildos, I think, or just at least one dildo. A dildo named Matt Harvey.
Yes. So give the rundown, the story behind what happened. Do you remember it all?
So yeah, I think baseball, as we know, it's a long season, and players are about.
It's a long, hard season.
It's a long, hard season. Hey, do you mind if I grab that from you again?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks.
You really got to pull out.
Yeah, make sure they don't spill any back there. Sorry, Mrs. Abneri.
Don't want to get it all over your face.
Of course not, especially in the eyes.
So blind, yeah.
Or the hair. As I say, baseball season is a very long season, and you're around the same core group of people for a long, long time. So one way that baseball players like to keep things, what should we say, fresh in the clubhouse is playing some jokes on each other. And one of the jokes that Mets pitcher, I think it's believed that Mets pitcher Matt Harvey played on one of their backup catchers, Kevin Plewicki, was that he put a phallus, a adult toy, as that other ball hawking show called it, or we could just we're all grown adults, so we can just call it a dildo. Yes, a dildo. Tony's pretending he has a microphone in his hand. He's singing a song. But yeah, he put a dildo in Plewicki's locker, and after a game, Plewicki was getting interviewed, and don't know if he noticed it was in there, but it made an impression, an impact.
A deep impact.
So one of the things, a deep impact, because from what I understand, it was a rather large impact. So one of the things that we want to look at this week are different hijinks or different pranks that baseball players play on each other. Tony, any thing that stands out that you comes to mind of some practical jokes there in Minnesota?
I think so. I think we had one of the best in Bert Blyleven. I've heard a lot of stories about him. I mean, it's not really a hijinks or a practical joke, but one day he did wear a T-shirt, which they have since replicated, and you can buy it at Fan HQ. It's a local store here. And it said, "I heart to fart," which is pretty sweet. But I think the best practical joke that I heard, and the one that gets a lot of play, is he liked to do something called the hot foot, and I think we're all kind of aware of that. But he just liked lighting shoelaces on fire of guys that weren't paying attention, and then seeing them freak out when they realize that their foot is on fire.
Yes, that was one that I saw. That I think Justin Verlander had a pretty good one a few years ago, where he actually lit someone's whole pant leg on fire, at least the bottom part of it. And I think a few other.
Did he show the pant leg a picture of his girlfriend?
I do not know that. If he said, "Hey, Kate, look what I did. I set some guy's leg on fire today," and
she just
got all hot and bothered with it, and
he showed her the Kevin Plawecki.
He did. He gave her his Kevin Plawecki. So I think a few other ones that I saw was some of the great clubhouse pranks was when the Phillies told Kyle Kendrick that he had been traded to Japan. Yes. And the look of his face was that of disbelief, but he didn't want to question it either, which was great because they actually pulled the same prank on him twice. Because a few years later, they got his agent involved, and they told him that he'd been traded to Japan again, and he kind of fell for the same trick again because his agent was in on this one. Another great one was Jeff Francoeur, that they convinced him that one of his teammates was deaf. The thing was that he just never talked to Jeff, and all those teammates kind of figured out that, hey, Jeff Francoeur is a pretty gullible guy. Let's tell him that this player's deaf. And they made a whole little mockumentary about it. And at the end, the player says, "Hey, I'm not deaf, Jeff."
Yes. I will say right now that it is. You can watch that video. It is on YouTube. Just Google or YouTube on Jeff Ears, and it's the first one. It is. I can't even describe how hilarious it is. I think that is. It's awesome because guys just start to lay in on Jeff and be like, "How you are so stupid," and it's fantastic.
And a couple other ones I've came across that I kind of enjoyed was Tyler White of the Astros, especially from here. And we're going to dive back into ball hawking talk just a little bit. Tyler White of the Astros a few years ago during batting practice, they drove his I think it was a Range Rover or a Lexus out onto the field during batting practice, and they started taking aim at it, and actually he got hit a couple of times during batting practice out on the field. So he was pretty freaked out about that, and he went out there and was trying to protect it from getting hit. But no, even to his best efforts couldn't keep a couple of baseballs from hitting the roof of it. So, and a couple of other ones that I liked was Colby Rasmussen, Muffin, whatever we want to call him. Again, in Houston, some teammates put a that's right, yeah. Some teammates put a used diaper underneath his passenger seat and just left it there. And I guess he went to pick up a nice lady, and he couldn't figure out where the smell was coming from. And he just had a dirty diaper under his car or under the passenger side of his seat for a good amount of time until he figured out where this smell was coming from. And along the same lines, one of the probably taking the award for the most disgusting practical joke would be Tim Hudson. Actually put a what can we call it? Doo-doo?
A shit.
Oop. A shit. Okay. Someone sharted inside of Adam LaRoche's glove when he was with the Atlanta Braves, and I think he found it the hard way, if you know what I mean. And to get back at Tim Hudson and actually all the Braves, when Adam LaRoche found out that he was traded, he actually went and cut the crotch out of all of the baseball pants before he left. So all the baseball pants were crotchless. So it would have been interesting batting practice that day, I guess.
When David Ortiz came to town for the last time, they had Torrey Hunter and some of the other guys from that that core team from the early 2000s for the Twins, they kind of talked about some of the pranks that they did. And it sounds like they really got David Ortiz really good. They ended up finding his nut cup and putting in a bunch of peanut butter. And Ortiz didn't notice it until he put on the cup and then had junk or peanut butter all over his junk. And he even put his pants on before realizing something doesn't feel right. So to hear that come from the mouth of Torrey Hunter was pretty special. And then I have to think that I just watched a video about Jose Canseco, and there were a couple crazy things, both kind of off the field, but it sounds like him and Frank Thomas, when Frank Thomas was like a rookie, were both out for a drive. I don't know why. Maybe that could have been the same time that Jose Canseco had a cup of tea with the White Sox, but they were out for a drive, going super fast, and ended up basically having to stop really quick, braking hard, skidding out on the side, and Frank immediately gets out of the car and starts walking, and basically said that Jose Canseco nearly killed him when he was a rookie, which that could have been interesting. And then
I thought you were going to say the practical joke was that Jose Canseco went into bathroom stalls and pricked people with needles and something. He said, "Oh, surprise! Just kidding, guys."
Yeah,
it's just steroids.
Everyone's doing steroids, but no one knows. That was left out of his book that he was actually injecting guys without their permission. But then the big one that he did after he was a player, that I thought was pretty hilarious, was after he shot his finger off. I don't know if everyone remembers that. He was found, or he was doing a poker tournament and had his finger in a sling and ended up kind of slamming down his hand, and his finger popped out, and people didn't know that it was a joke and thought that the finger that he had just blasted off had been rejected by his body and fell off on the table.
Was it his ring finger that got shot off?
Probably.
Like, I think it maybe looks something like this.
Yeah.
Shocking.
I think that's how you throw your fastball. Am I correct that you do it with those fingers?
Let's see. I usually, yeah, there's a little pitch I call it. It's the shocker.
Yeah.
Really. Sorry, Miss Ebner. Well, that pitch stinks. So, anyways, Tony, do you give a yay or a nay for clubhouse pranks?
Oh,
now before we go there, the ML, I do remember as part of the collective bargain agreement, it was written in there about rookie hazing, and they're no longer allowed to have rookies dress up in different outfits. So I think that kind of falls into that whole category. So are we yay or nay on clubhouse pranks?
Oh, I'm all for it. Like the more that you, like you said, I mean, they work 162 days out of the year together, and that's just regular season. Then you have postseason, and on top of it, spring training. Oftentimes they're spending even their off days together, and sometimes it's super long hours. People kind of forget how they have to get to the clubhouse probably at about noon. A lot of the guys, and then they don't leave until sometimes midnight. So you know what? Just be loose, have fun, and I'm more along the lines that I would probably do stupid stuff like that too. So
dildo in the locker, good idea or not good idea?
Actually, it's a bad idea. You have to have more than one.
Oh, so just not one.
Or actually, what they should do is make it somehow Kevin Plawecki's actual penis sculpted and put in the background.
Now, here's my question: how would they get a mold of that to make?
They take showers together, right?
Just say, here, hold this for a moment.
No,
there.
I'm sure they could just do it by memory.
Yeah, okay. That's probably true. That's probably true.
How about you? Do you like the hijinks, the craziness?
I love the hijinks and craziness, though. I mean, I'm sure if someone was pulled on me, I wouldn't enjoy it at that time. But probably after I'm able to get them back, I no, it's kind of like the unspoken rules that we talked about a couple weeks ago. No, I wouldn't like it happening to me in the moment, but once I can get my retaliation, I think it'd be all good fun.
Especially creative ways. I mean, there's also those stories about like giving the rookies the checks and making them pay for like thousands of dollars of food or whatever they do. That's not really that funny. Plus, when you get to like monetary things, that's a little sketchy. But quite honestly, if you can do something weird and creative, and that kind of goes into a good segue of heckling. If you can make it weird and creative and memorable, you did something right, and you should keep on being able to prank people.
So Ballhawk Blab gives 2 thumbs up. Actually, it might be 4 thumbs up.
I got 2 more.
Yeah, here you go. 2 thumbs up to Clubhouse pranks.
2 thumbs up what?
2 thumbs up your dildo. Moving on, as Tony mentioned, heckling has been pretty big deal in baseball as well. Most notably in Boston, Adam Jones having peanuts thrown at him. Peanuts, not peanuts. Peanuts thrown at him. And they called some choice words, some inappropriate language. CC Sabathia came out and said, no, he's kind of heard the same things from Boston as well. So being from the Northeast area, I think Boston's had an issue with some of these things in the past. I think Jim Rice has kind of come out and said, my favorite baseball player of all time, Jim Rice, has said, no, it's hard being a black athlete in Boston at times just because, it's one of those things that it's never really talked about, but there is an air of being treated differently as a black player in Boston. Though I've been to many stadiums, I personally have never heard any of these epithets thrown out. These nasty ones. Now I've heard people cross the line and start talking about just talking about rude things and dropping F-bombs and saying things that are completely over the line. So when it comes to heckling, Tony, where do you draw the line?
Well,
not you as a heckler, because I don't see you as a heckler. I see you as someone who might want to talk and have a good conversation with someone during a game, but maybe those around you.
I've been known to heckle, but like I said before, make it creative and don't make it like super mean. There's ways to get across your dislike for another team or for another athlete because they're on that team, but there's ways to do it to not make it personal. I got really good at it when I was at college and would heckle the goalies on the opposing team. So good that some of them would acknowledge me and look at me, and that's when I knew I was in their head. But it was never.
Tony.
For our younger viewers, that's a band called the Cranberries. Look them up. Song was Zombie, but I like Tony better. So yeah, I've gotten in the heads of some people. I can even remember, actually, it's kind of funny that Adam Jones was mentioned because I got in his head once towards the end of a game where the Orioles were getting blown out. I had super close tickets, yelled at him that said that if he doesn't get a hit in this at bat, I'm dropping him from my fantasy team. He kind of smiled and chuckled, and unfortunately he did get a hit. But it was just kind of one of those things where, like, you can interact with them. You can even kind of play around with them and get creative, but don't be hey, going back to our show's motto, don't be a dick.
But today, I think we've changed our motto this week for this week's shows from don't be a dick to don't be a dildo.
No, don't be a dick, but be a dildo.
Oh.
Because we endorse dildos as pranks, but not dicks as behavior.
Yeah, so don't be a dildo, not a dick, kids.
Yep.
And if you don't know what that means,
good.
Don't look it up.
Don't Google it.
Don't go ask your parents. Just ignore everything we've said, from along those lines. And I think you've kind of hit that nail on the head when it comes to trash talking or heckling. I think some players sort of enjoy it a little bit. Thinking back to some of the best basketball players, I think is probably where it stands out the most. They enjoy trash talking a little bit. And if you think about Spike Lee and Reggie Miller back in the 90s, now that was probably one of the most famous heckling incidences of all time in sports, where they're just going back and forth, and Reggie's going to Spike Lee, getting him the choke signal, and I think heckling can be done in a fun way, just like Tony said. Oh, if you don't get a hit, I'm dropping you from my fantasy team. Things like that, where sometimes a player might like that banter back and forth. But like in Boston, when you start crossing lines of racial issues and start talking about people's families, I think it was Chicago or San Francisco where they had the bullpens right on the edge of the stands. Someone starts talking about someone's parents or mother or daughter or children, or that they try to climb in. Well, actually, I don't think they tried to. They did climb into the stands and had a little tussle with a fan. I think it was the Dodgers at the Cubs some years back. Which at that point, no, I don't blame the fan. I don't blame the player for sticking up for themselves. In reality, fans think that they can buy a ticket and it gives them the right to say and do pretty much anything they want. Which that's not the case. Come, and if you want to heckle, do it in good taste. I think there's a few years back at Citi Field where someone was heckling Matt Diaz in the outfield and saying, "Hey, nice socks, Matt. No, your socks don't even match." And Matt Diaz just pulled up his pant legs to show them, "Hey, no, my socks, they match." But when you start crossing lines and start dropping F-bombs and start attacking players at a personal level, I think you cross the line, and that's a whole different. Go ahead.
No, you can finish.
I was just going to say, the whole enforcement of what MLB wants to do about throwing fans out of the stadium and banning fans for life, that's another debate, I guess, when it comes to how far is too far and what can be said and what can't be said. That's a completely another debate. But I think, go to the stadium, have fun, but don't make it personal. I think if you start making it personal, now you start becoming a dick. And I think who you heckle is, kind of a big deal as well. So I see people heckle minor league players, which I think is a complete dick move, because these are players that, depending on the level, they're making pretty much nothing to play a game that they love. And some of them, for the sport they're playing, they may be struggling. It might be that they know that they're maybe about to get released, and what they've worked their whole life for might be coming to an end, and then you got some dick out in the outfield saying how bad they suck and things like that. Yeah, it's their job, but Seinfeld says, "Hey, I don't come to your job and start heckling you for you doing a shitty job." So, if you're gonna heckle, but keep it in good taste and don't make it personal, and don't be a dick.
Agreed. And kind of going back to Boston, I think that there's 2 points. The first point is a lot of people tried to sound off, and they were trying to make a good point, and that good point is it was only one fan in 40,000, which great. If racism is 1 out of every 40,000, that would be much better than what it is today. But at the same time, it's you still had racism. You still, like, people were trying to say that it was an overreaction. No, that there was a guy who was had an object thrown at him while racist remarks were being said. Whether or not you're a professional athlete or just walking down the street, if you are the recipient of that 1 in 40,000, it's not going to be something pleasant. It's not going to be something that should be tolerated. And moreover, it took more than just 1 out of 40,000 to let that happen. The fans didn't turn him in right away. They didn't say, hey, they didn't try to stop him. They didn't do anything. So while, yes, I get your point that it's rare, the fact that it happened and was allowed to happen, not exactly the best mark. And then just going back to Boston in general, from what I've heard, from what I listen to when it comes to like comedians and also just kind of some of the pop culture stuff, it's hard denying that Boston has a history of racism, and it's unfortunate because not all Bostonians are like that. Not everyone is like that, but enough of the residents or people that go to games or people that kind of go into the Boston area, they have enough of a reputation that it sticks out to more people than in other areas, especially areas in the north. So while you might think it's rare and that it's kind of, oh, it's the first time that it happened in Boston, listen to guys that know what they're talking about. These black athletes, they don't want to come out and accuse people of being racist. That's not fun for them. It's not fun for the fans. It's not fun for anyone. But the fact that multiple guys have started to talk up and say, yeah, this happens and it's quite frequent there, should paint a picture. They're not just trying to falsely accuse, because there's nothing for them to gain. It happens. Let's stop it. If you see something like that going on, or if you know something like that is going to happen, or if someone says something around you that's like that, stick up. Not just at baseball games, but anywhere.
I think part of the thing of why someone might feel comfortable doing it is because that it's almost like they feel comfortable in that atmosphere of saying it. No, it needs to be one of those things that, no, not only would you not say it because it's not right, but no, you wouldn't say it because you would be afraid of what the backlash should be of, no, not just of who you're saying it to, but those people that are around you.
Yep.
And I think one of the things people need to keep in mind as well is, all right, yeah, you're saying this because for whatever reason you want to say it, and that you want to get the attention of that player that you're saying it to, but think about there's people around you also, especially at baseball games. I'm sure there's going to be lots of kids that are hearing this, and no, not only is this something that they don't need to hear, but now you're making their parents have a conversation with them that kid might not be ready to have. And now a parent, you're forcing a parent, not you, as someone saying it, but no, this conversation is one that a parent needs to have with their kid. And maybe that's not a conversation that kid is mature enough to have yet or would fully understand, whereas this parent might be able to talk to their child about it in a different time, at a different time, in a different place. And it really didn't need to be because someone's dropping M-bombs at a player walking off the field. Now, you might not like Adam Jones. You might think he's a prick. That's fine. No, you can express that in different ways than dropping racial slurs to them.
Yep. And it sucks because you've also seen it. The other sport that I really like and enjoy is hockey, and baseball at least has been not only integrated for a while, but has had a rich history of black athletes. Hockey really hasn't had that, especially to the degree that baseball has. And you still see that. There's been some issues with Simmons from the Flyers. A few years ago, someone threw a banana on the ice at him, and that was directly tied to some racist remarks and just racial tones. And it sucks because no matter the sport, it should be inclusive. It should be something that it's entertainment. entertainment means fun. It doesn't mean going to places and being subjected to horrific things. It doesn't mean being subjected to hate. It's an escape. Let people escape. There can be some comedy aspects to it. There can be some kind of zany atmosphere, but keep it in that area rather than getting, like we said, getting personal or getting to. If you wouldn't say it to a person on the street, then think over what you're going to say.
And I think a lot of fans think that they're immune to actions. Bless you. I think a lot of fans feel that they can say whatever they want because they're part of a crowd, and how can someone figure out who's saying something? No, I think it's kind of a lot of what goes on in the Twitter sphere as well. I'm hiding behind a keyboard or a phone. I can say whatever I want with very little recourse. I talked to a professional pitcher a few years ago about this. I asked him, how many things do you think you'd hear if someone were to say it to your face? And he said, pretty much nothing. So, no, if you want to say something to a player, sack up and say it to their face, and just realize that there might be consequences for some of the things that you choose to say. If you're going to be man or woman enough to want to say some degrading things, you should be man or woman enough to take whatever consequences come from that as well. Not saying that I would promote someone get knocked out, but sometimes when you choose to run your mouth, that is what happens.
And I'm not pointing the finger at anyone other than the person who did this. But there is something to be said about a lot of issues happening at games that have to center around alcohol. So, professional sports leagues, the more that this happens and the more that you pump in alcohol and other ways that fans are getting rowdy and cater to that type of fan, it sucks that there's that correlation, but there is that correlation. And if at some point people's rights or other privileges start to be revoked at baseball fields or at other areas of entertainment, it's unfortunate, but maybe that's also why you try to keep your fellow spectators around you in line a little bit, because if you are someone who likes to go to the field and have a drink or other things that might get in the way, protect them now, because who knows?
And no one says, and I don't think what we're trying to say is that that you shouldn't go out and enjoy yourself. And if you enjoy going to the baseball stadium and tying one on, that's your choice. But I think with our overall philosophy is don't be a dick about it. If you choose to do that, it doesn't mean that you now have a right to have diarrhea start flowing from your mouth and just say whatever it is that you want to pop off about. Because I'm pretty sure 95% of the people that want to run their mouth in that sort of manner, if given the opportunity to do it face to face, you wouldn't do it. I know I've seen Matt Kemp kind of approach fans in the stands, and he's been sticking up for his teammates. That players are getting on to Ender Inciarte about misplaying a ball, and some players started yelling about it, and Matt Kemp starts yelling at the fan, just tell him to shut up, shut his mouth. He couldn't do it any better than he would, than that guy would. So that's not heckling. That's just being a drunken asshole.
And it also kind of goes back to being a ball hawk too, because if we enjoy going to the stadium and catching baseballs, but all of a sudden we start to get sloppy and hurt other people or talk smack or things of that nature, we're probably going to be seeing gate times shrink and shrink, or less opportunities to catch baseballs. So the more that you enjoy something, the more you also have the responsibility to protect it. And unfortunately, that also means kind of policing those around you. But it shouldn't be that hard, especially in major situations like this. If you see something that distasteful happen, speak up right away and make sure that you contact the right people that need to do the right thing. And hopefully we don't have to be talking about this anytime in the future, because it's just sad.
Sports is supposed to be fun. I think Tony's kind of already hit on that this is also supposed to be fun. And yes, society does not always fall into the line of what is proper, and everyone's definition of what's right and what's wrong is different, but there's definitely some lines that everyone can agree to, that things that are appropriate and not appropriate. And I think if we can just have a civil decorum out there and not act like fools and don't cross those lines, that sports can be what sports are meant to be, and that's fun entertainment. So,
and it also includes, I mean, maybe we're in the era of dildo sports, because one got thrown on a football field this last year. Now we're seeing it in baseball locker rooms. Who knows? Maybe a hockey player is going to somehow attach one to the end of a stick. Let's focus more on those hijinks rather than getting mean and terrible.
What if a goalie had one on the front of his face mask?
I don't know that he could, because that'd be an extra stop a shot.
Yeah. Think about it.
Basketball would also be really tough.
What if like on a jump ball, they each had one in their hands and they slap the ball on the jump ball with one?
I don't think you're supposed to slap balls with dildos.
Oh. What if like on a face-off, if they faced off with them? Like on the puck's drop,
they instead of using a stick, it's just a giant dildo?
Yeah.
That would work.
Okay.
How about basketball, they wear dildo shoes.
Okay, you could do that. What about like a hat that just had two on the side?
Ooh, put it in like the sweatband?
Yeah, there you go. Bring back the sweatband, like the dildo band.
Then it would just look like they're...
like a dickhead.
Yeah. And especially the moisture coming off of that would... it'd all of a sudden be a sweaty dickhead.
So,
this is Dildo Talk, sponsored by Ballhawk Blab.
Yes. Brought to you by Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve Adult Online Bookstore.
Promo code Ballhawk Blab, all lowercase. Actually, we don't have a promo code. But Adam and Eve, if you're looking for some sponsors, or to sponsor someone, look it up.
We'll sponsor just about anything that's legal.
Yeah. We put the ball in Ballhawk.
We do. Just one, though.
Or actually, our promo code could be Ballcock Blab.
All right, on that note, anything else this week? Nope. All right, so we will be back next week with another highly interesting episode of Ballhawk Blab. I think I might be coming back from the stadium again next week. We'll have to check out the old...
And I think that's the last one right before I go to the East Coast, so maybe it'll be like a prep one. Maybe I'll have to ask you about some East Coast stadiums and get your...
I haven't been to a couple of them.
Which ones?
I have been to Pittsburgh. Okay. I've been to Washington. That's it.
Well, those are...
I've been to Philadelphia before as well.
Well, 3. Those are 3 of the 5 that I'm going to. So I'll have at least one question per stadium for you.
Well, I'll need to brush up on that then.
Oh, you'll rub up against something. Oh, you said brush.
I did brush. Like a nice Bob Ross paintbrush.
Happy trees.
All right, Tony. I'm about to go to my happy place now.
All right. Remember, kids, don't be a dick. Love. ELE. Everybody love everybody. Don't be a dick.